Hello, readers. Today we're going to be reading a book called Precious and the Boo Hag. And this is my first time introducing this book to you kids. I just love reading Circle Time, and I know I've read this book dozens of times before you guys, and I want you to read this book. It's so much fun. And the setting takes place in the southern region. We can say it's New Orleans, but the characters live on a prairie. So we can think about Nebraska, New Orleans, anywhere in the south that has like a prairie region, maybe up north. But this is more towards the southern prairie setting. And Precious is a little girl that has to find her own courage and be brave and overcome such a frightful and scary event that happened to her while she was staying home alone. That's what I want you to think about. When was a time where you had to have courage and be brave and stand against, something you were scared of, like not being a bystander to bullying, or making your own lunch for school, even though you were worried that it wasn't going to be as cool as the other kids. So just think about that, as well as I want you to think about why Precious might have had to use courage and be brave. Do we think someone was after her? Do we think someone wanted to protect her, but they were just too late? Like, was something trying to get her? Was someone after her? Or was she scared of a thunderstorm? Because I know when I'm home alone, everything is scary. Even the wind outside is scary. So just think about these things. And we can always come back to that, or you can use that in your writing observations. It doesn't matter. Just think about those things. Now we're going to move forward with the book. So, here we're going to move forward to the page. Precious and the Boo Hag by Patricia C. McKissick and Onwami John Moss. Woo-wee! Precious had been up all night with a stomach ache. Since it was corn planting time, every hand was needed in the fields. Got no choice but to leave you here, Mama said. Now remember, don't let nothing and nobody in this house, not even me, 'cause I got a key. After plenty of hugs and dozens of do's and don'ts, Mama finally left. We're no further than a stone's throw away. She called over a running, understand? She called over her shoulder and said, "You come a running, understand?" "Yes, ma'am," Precious answered, feeling like a big girl. "Don't worry, Mama, I'll be fine." Mom gave her rules. Do your chores. Do get your stuff off the floor. Don't ramble in my things. Don't make a mess. And then you can see right here that one of the words that stuck out was ramble. Ramble means to walk, go through, or travel without a trace. But in this book, when she said don't ramble through my things, she meant don't go through my things, don't go through my clothes and my other outfits. And by looking at page 1, we could say who is our main character in the story. Just like I talked about earlier, our main character in the story is Precious. Before he left, Brother pulled Precious to the side. "Be sure to mind Mama now, 'cause if you let somebody in, you never know. It just might be Perella the Boo Hag." "Who?" Precious asked with a disbelieving giggle. Brother scrunched his face. "Boo Hags live all over, everywhere, but Perella is one who lives on the prairie. She's tricky and she's scary, and she makes you try to disobey your mama. So she's on the prairie and she's trying to make people disobey their mothers. Doesn't seem like a nice boo hag to me." Precious held her breath as Brother went on. "Perella is strange from head to toe. She ain't too smart, got no manners, hates clean water, can change her shape, and tells whoppers." Pause right there. Whoppers. Whoppers means a big lie or huge lies. So he's saying that Pruella tells big lies. Probably because she always wants to get in the house where she's not welcome, since she likes to make people disobey their parents. She tells big lies to get them inside. Let's not fall for her tricks in this book. Then his voice lowered as he added, she'll do most anything to get inside. See? We already knew. Why does she want to get inside? Precious asked, her voice quavering. Brother clicked his teeth. You don't want to know. Just remember this. No boo hag can get inside your house less than you let her in. Then he rushed to catch up with Mama. And this is Precious's brother. He looks a little weird, but we can tell he cares about her. And another thing I want to point out before we get on is pay attention to the way the characters are dressed, the speaking their accents. Listen, y'all, ooh-wee, like the slang that they use. Why do you think their setting takes place where do you think their setting takes place based on the clothes they're wearing and the accents that they use? I gave you a hint earlier in the story. You could just tell me any kind of state you think they're in or time period. I think it's in the South and they're on a prairie because Pruella attacks on the prairie. So I'm thinking Nebraska, maybe Tennessee, something really southern. Guys, you are doing great. I love those ideas too because we're both thinking the South. Now Precious was all by herself. She stood stone still, listening to the quiet, hoping that if Pruella the Boo Hag was nearby, she wouldn't notice her or see that she was alone. What you doing standing like a bump on a pickle, as Louise said. Patterson's voice boomed through the kitchen window, almost turning Precious inside out. How come you not helping with the planting? Got a stomach ache, Precious answered. And I can't let nothing or nobody inside, 'cause she sighed deeply. It might be Pruella the Boo Hag. Abby Louise burst out laughing. Who told you that silly stuff? Ain't no such thing as Precious the Boo Hag. Really? Precious said, mad that she'd fallen for another one of her brother's stories. Better watch out for the little green men from Mars, too. Addie Louise teased and skipped away. So they're friends, but Addie Louise is teasing her. I don't think that's right because she's listening to her parents, just like you always listen to your parents. Even Addie Louise was sure to tell the whole country that Precious was a scaredy cat. The girl felt much better. There's no such thing as a boo hag, especially one named Pruella, she told herself with a pinch of confidence. To pass the time, Precious looked through Mama's handkerchiefs and tried on her Sunday hat and high-heel shoes. She was having fun counting all the strawberry preserves when suddenly the birds stopped singing. The air felt thick and cold. Honeysuckle wilted on vine, and the sunny day took a dark and dreary disposition. Means turn. Precious looked out the kitchen window, didn't see nothing. She peered out the side windows, didn't see nothing either. But then when she went to the front window, there it was hiding, riding on the back of a storm, the biggest, meanest something Precious had ever seen. It had eyes of burning cinder and hair that shot out like lightning. Pruella, the Boo Hag, is real, she whispered, and she is one awful sight. Open the door! Let me in! Shouted a voice that rumbled like rolling thunder. The wind whirled and twirled, and she shook the whole house. And Precious shook too. In a small voice she answered, My mama told me not to open the door for nothing and nobody. Quick, she dashed behind a curtain and sang her fear. Perella is a boo hag. She's right outside my window. She's tricky, she's scary, but I won't let her in. Now we're gonna pause here. We met Perella, but I just want to ask you some questions. Now that her brother had talked about Perella to Precious, do we think that at first he was being a little dramatic and kind of making up some details about Precious so she'll be good and listen? Or do you think that when we met Cruella, he was telling the truth and just protecting her safety? What do we think? Do we think he was protecting her wholeheartedly? Like she's scary, but was she as bad as the brother described when he said she's nasty, slimy, hates cold water? Does she seem scary? Or you think he was just protecting her? Well, I think he was just protecting her so she'll be safe. And we met Addie Louise, her friend too, that was saying you might as well meet the men on Mars too. Now, does she sound like a good friend to you? Because I think she was a little rude. What do you think? She could just be joking, as friends do. So maybe she is a nice character. I just don't like how she treated her. But now that we've heard Addie Louise and the brother, which one do we decide to believe about Cruella the Boo Hag? The brother. I think we should believe the brother from Cruella the Boo Hag. And I wanted to say, now that we saw crazy Cruella the Boo Hag, do we think she looks friendly or scary? Definitely looks scary. If I was young and I saw that in my front window, I would be scared. The boo hag howled and threw lightning, but Precious held fast and sang louder and louder. But I won't let her in. At last, Cruella grumbled and sputtered, and poof, she was gone. Instantly, the sun came out, the birds started chirping, and the daisies lifted their faces to the light. Precious opened the front window and filled her lungs with fresh smelling air and sang her victory. Cruella is a boo hag. She's tricky and she's scary. She's right outside my window, but I didn't let her in. Let's hear that song again. Cruella is a boo hag. She's right outside my window. She's tricky and she's scary, but I didn't let her in. You can say that any way you want and remember those song lines. So I really enjoy this song that she's singing. And from this page, we see that Precious did not allow Cruella to enter her home. But do we think the boo hag Cruella will give up? Or will she keep trying to make Precious disobey her mother and brother? Because her mother and brother said, do not let anyone in this house, especially Cruella. So what do we think? Do we think Cruella's gonna try to come back to get inside Precious's house? Or do you think that it's not gonna happen? She's gonna give up because of Cruella's victory song. Think about that. Well, I think that Cruella is gonna try it again because he says she's tricky and she's scary. If we think about it, she only showed up as her real self in this page right here. This is the first time she showed up. She showed up as her real self and said, let me in. And Cruella didn't do that. Why? Because she was scared. I think she might try again, but in a different form of disguise. Think about that word, disguise. So let's figure it out. If both of our ideas were right, who was right? While she was still humming, a woman opened the front gate and came stepping in down the walk, looking like a runway rainbow. Morning to you, she spoke, real cheery, then took a seat in Mama's porch rocker. Good morning, Precious spoke back. noticing that the woman wore one pink shoe and one orange shoe. "It's hot, as you please," the visitor screeched. Like, "It's hot, as you please," screeched. Screech is like loud voice. Maybe you're like, "It's hot, as you please." But I'm just telling you that so you can remember that word screeched. Back to the story. So right here. So the visitor screeched, looking over Precious's head to see inside. So she was telling Precious it's hot in here while looking inside her house through the kitchen window. That's very weird. "Bring me something to drink. Tea, juice, dirty dishwater will do." Dirty dishwater? We remember that Precious's brother said she does not drink clean water. Something is suspicious. "Did you say dishwater?" Precious is catching on to something. "Said no such thing," the woman snapped back. "Hurry up. Anyhow, I'm thirsty." Precious wondered if this strange woman had ever heard of please. She's mean. That's another hint. And then returning from the kitchen, she handed the woman a cup of water. So look how she's dressed. She's not neat. That's a sign. That's a very weird way of dressing. And you see how she's just looking at her house, being all rude. I don't like that. The woman flashed a crooked smile. "Now, youngin', let me inside and drink it in the cool." Precious shook her head and backed away. "I'm not letting nothing and nobody in this house." The woman grumbled and hissed and took a big gulp of water. She gagged and coughed and sputtered. One eye went to spinning like a top. The other started blinking, and her tongue rolled out like a scroll. "I said tea, juice, anything," she gasped, "but never did I ask for clean water." True to brother's words, the visitor was strange from head to toe, had no manners, and hated clean water. "Can't trick me. I know who you are," Precious said, and she slammed the window shut. Outside, the woman grew taller and wider and roared like 100 swamp things. "Let me in!" Precious sang to muster her courage. "Pruella is a boo hag. She's right outside my window. She's tricky and she's scary, but I won't let her in." So courage right here. Precious had to muster up some courage, which means she had to find her own courage and strength to again make sure that Pruella the Boo Hag did not get inside her house, and make sure that she followed brother and mother's directions. So courage. Courage was a word that I told you to think about in the beginning of the story and how you think you had to have courage. Courage means being brave or having that ability to face fear and danger and make good choices. You're making good choices even though it's hard. Even though Precious is scared right now, she made a good choice by listening to her mom and brother and not allowing Pruella, the scary looking boo hag, to get inside her house. Right now, Pruella's trying everything she can and Precious is saying no. That shows real bravery and courage. Because there are sometimes we want to say yes when we're scared. But it's always best to make good choices. With the melody swirling around her, the boo hag vanished. Just then, Addie Louise came skipping up from around the side of the house. "Hello, Precious," she spoke, not sounding a bit like Addie Louise. It looks like her. It walks like her. But it sure don't talk like her, thought Precious, checking to see if Addie Louise's shoes and eyes matched. "Got some jacks and a ball." And the girl, her voice all scratchy, "If you let me in, we can play." Addie Louise had a Southern Belle accent, not a sound. That doesn't sound like Addie. It sounds like somebody else we met that was mean and nasty. Well, let's figure out if that's really her friend Addie or the boo hag. I told you, I'm not allowed. Addie Louise smiled. Her teeth didn't look like hers either. Your mama told me I could play inside with you. Precious put her hand on the doorknob. Well, if mama said it's okay, the Addie Louise thing got so excited her toes popped out through her shoes. They were big and hairy and smelled awful. Precious pulled back her hand, thinking fast. She asked her sweetly, doesn't Mama look pretty today in her blue apron? She truly does. Oh, this is weird. Addie Louise was very pretty the first time we saw her. Wow, her teeth green. It shows that it's dirty and nasty. Probably doesn't drink clean water. So, I don't know. I don't think this is Addie Louise. What do you think by looking at the pictures and the feet? I think that it might be the boo hag, but maybe Addie just didn't brush her teeth. We can't figure it out until we flip the next page. You're telling a big whopper, Precious shouted. Mama's apron is green. Pruella is a boo hag. She's right outside my window. She's checking, she's scary, but I didn't let her in. In a fit of fury, the boo hag left, leaping wildly over the prairie like a March hare. A March hare is a rabbit. But we can see that the boo hag is running away. Wow. This boo hag was pretty much trying to do everything in her power to get in Precious's house so far. I wonder what else she's going to turn into, or another way she's going to try to trick Precious. But as we can see, Precious did not let her in. For the rest of the day, Precious watched and waited for signs of Pruella the boo hag. As late afternoon sunbeam struck the front porch, an orangish flash of light caught her eye. It was a penny, all sparkling new. Precious wanted it. She tried to lean out to the window to reach the coin, but it was too far away. She fetched the broom, but the penny wouldn't move. She had to go get it. Her stomach started hurting once more, and now her head ached too. It might be, that sixth sense. Maybe like, oh, I don't think this is a good idea, but let's see what's going to happen. Slowly, Precious opened the front door. Her eyes searched the yard. First right, then left. No sign of Pruella. In a dash, she hurried out, snatched up the coin, and turned to go back inside. But on the threshold, she stopped to look down at it. No, she decided, you can't fool me. And she flicked it over her shoulder. Poof, it was gone before it hit the ground. She tried to she did turn into a penny. She tried to trick Precious again. So, wow, Pruella the boo hag, she's just a sly one. How many times did she try to trick Precious into letting her enter the house? How many times do you think she tried to enter Precious's house? I'm going to say 4. The first time she entered as herself and tried to trick her by, come on, let me in. The second time, she pretended to be this random lady and asked for dirty water in weird mixed match clothing that didn't look cute, by the way. The third time, she pretended to be her good friend Addie Louise, but her teeth were all green and messed up, and Addie Louise was a pretty Southern belle. Now, this is the fourth time she turned into a penny and tried to get Precious to pick her up and get inside her house. Thankfully, again, like I said in the beginning, Precious used her smarts, her courage, and bravery to know that something was up and that the boo hag was still at work. So she tricked Precious 4 times just to try to get into that, or she tried to trick Precious. She tried to trick Precious 4 times. She didn't trick, she tried to trick Precious 4 times to get inside the house, and Precious said no. So I just see that Precious has so much courage. When Mama came home, she was very proud of Precious. I knew I could trust you, she said, and gave her daughter a hug. Later, Precious told Brother everything that had happened. Barilla was scary, and she was pretty tricky. I almost brought her inside when she disguised herself as a shiny new penny. She finished with a big smile. But like you told me, a boo hag ain't nothing too smart. George Washington was on the front instead of Abraham Lincoln. Whoa. So let's pay attention to that word of when she disguised herself as a shiny new penny. Disguised. Disguise means to change one's looks, to conceal their identity, or they're trying to be unrecognizable. Disguise is more like a costume or a mask. Well, so when she said she disguised herself into a shiny new penny, that means she tried to hide her identity and turn into a penny so she can get inside the house. She's a sly one, and sly means tricky. Perilla's just tricky. The night Precious climbed into bed and drifted off to sleep, humming her victory song. Cruella is the boo hag, she's right outside my window. She's tricky and she's scary, but I didn't let her in. As you listen to her gentle breathing, look closely in the branches outside Precious's window. So I cut this out for mystery because I want you to imagine what the boo hag looked like at night. I bet it was really, really scary. But we see that at the end, Precious used all of her courage and bravery. I mean, listening to this story, I really think that if we listen to our parents and have the courage to be brave, like how Precious was against the boo hag, that we can be strong and we can face anything. We can face being home alone and listening to that loud, scary thunder because we have courage and bravery within ourselves that I can be safe, that I'll be okay. And listening to your parents just shows how much courage you have by being respectful and kind and being a leader, not a follower. And I love how she was a leader. Even though her friend was saying, even her friend Addie was saying how much fun it was to go outside and play, she said, no, I'm going to listen to my mom. And I think that that's just a wonderful message. So again, how do you think that you could have courage like Precious? Just give yourself a thought. How could I have courage like Precious? It could be one of my examples. Yeah, we could have courage in that way. I think that I'm going to show courage by being a friend to others. And again, by being a leader, not a follower. You know, helping someone in need. You know, standing up to a bully. You know, doing things of that nature is how I can show courage. not only to somebody else, but to myself. And just talk to your parents about ways you can show courage and you can be a better friend in school. And that will just be great for everyone. And now that we've read the book, Precious and the Boo Hag, I want you to think about the book and work on your exit ticket. Because at the beginning of the book, well, before I even talked about the book or brought the book out to you, I told you all to write 3 things that you think will happen in the story. And then we could go back and look at the predictions that you made in the story. But I'm going to move that for tomorrow because we can always go back and we can check the details to make sure out of the 3 predictions, which predictions did you have about the book were correct. But because we're at the end of the book, I want you to go to the center of your table, or if you have the document below, if you sent in an email, you could do it either online or you can do it on paper if you know how to use the computer. This is if you're on an online class, if you're looking at me online on Zoom, or if you're in the classroom. I want you to get the exit ticket paper slip, and I want you to think about when Precious followed the directions and listened to her mother or brother. Do you think that she really listened? Do you think that she followed all the instructions, or you think no, she was a little bit weak when they said don't leave the house or don't let anyone in, when she opened up her door to get that penny or tried to get that penny? Do you think that was then when she started to break directions, or do you think that she followed all the directions that her parents told her? And if yes or no, how did she follow the directions or what her family had told her? If you think she did not follow directions, then I want you to write about how you think she did not follow directions. I want to see your creative process. How did Precious listen to her mother and brother? If you think yes, Precious followed the instructions of not letting anyone in. But if you think she did not, she was weak a couple times, or she gave her parents' rules a second thought and thought, well, maybe I could let this person in. Okay, do you think that means, oh, she didn't really follow all the directions? Because you shouldn't hesitate at all. You should always follow and listen. I want to see where your thought process is. And then tomorrow, when we do take a look at those pre-book predictions that you made, I'm going to go over the book once more, and we're going to listen to it on a video read aloud. And I want us to circle the predictions that we made that were correct. If none are correct, then I still want you to read them aloud, because I think I made some of those predictions too. I thought the book would be like this, and then I wound up being surprised. There aren't a really wrong or right predictions. If it didn't happen, it just didn't happen. But I hope you enjoyed this book. I hope you're excited about tomorrow when we get to check our predictions. And I hope you learn a little bit more about courage and bravery. So start working on that exit ticket slip. And I really want to see your thoughts on whether or not Precious listened to her mother and brother, or if she did not. Thank you for reading, tuning in, and following this lesson. Have a nice time writing.